Sponsored by the Degama Group.
Welcome to Rumbo Minero. My name is Jorge Leon Benavides, and together with Cesar Campos, we are going to develop this program. Cesar, how are you?
What a pleasure, Jorge, as always.
Good. We have just talked this week about Reinfo and everything, and there have been activities, marches, and we are going to talk with the brand new Vice Minister Henry Luna of Mines to talk about Reinfo. What is going to be done? What is the ministry's plan at this moment? So the new Vice Minister is going to talk to us about this issue. What else do we have, Cesar?
And well, the Petroperu case, which occupies the attention not only of experts, but of all Peruvians. We will talk to Anthony Laub, who is a specialist in energy law and regulation.
That's right. So let's now listen to Gabriela Chicoma with the main mining news of the week.
Thank you, Jorge. These are the main mining news of the week. The renowned lithium triangle, which covers northwestern Argentina, southwestern Bolivia, and northern Chile, could be expanded to include Peru in the short term. Henry Luna, Vice Minister of Mines, said that this year the lithium reserves in Macusani Puno would be revealed after requesting the corresponding authorizations from Macusani Yellowcake, a subsidiary of Canadian American Lithium and operator of the Falciani Lithium Project. These authorizations are expected to be obtained this year. The Peruvian subsidiary of the Canadian company Global Battery Metals, Minas Dinox, reported that its partner with option to purchase the Lara Ayacucho copper project, Minsur, is planning a work program at the property. In this way, efforts are aimed at advancing towards the approval of the environmental studies on this initiative. A total of 92 mining projects presented by the owners for an amount of $4,470 million in investments are being evaluated to obtain the authorization for exploration, exploitation, and concession of benefit as appropriate by the General Directorate of Mining of the Ministry of Energy and Mines.
Well, as we had announced, we now meet with Engineer Henry Luna, Vice Minister, brand new Vice Minister of Mines. Hey, welcome. Hey, Vice Minister, how are you? Congratulations on the appointment.
I am very grateful for this invitation, and as always, I am willing to continue working for the sector to simplify processes and to be able to continue being a receptive country for mining investment.
Tell us what are in this new task, because you already have a trajectory in the sector, in the public sector, in this task. What would be your medium and long-term objectives? Tell us a little bit about the work you want to do in the future.
Well, in the sector, there is a lot to do, isn't there? At the moment, investors complain a lot about the paperwork, that the procedures are very long, that in some cases they take more than a few years, and that there are other countries where the same procedure can be done in 2 or 3 months, right? We have to be realistic. Yeah, we know that for a mining project, for it to be developed, there is a long process, right? And we are trying to ensure that everything contained in the mining legislation can be developed within the established deadlines so that the investor can quickly develop his investments. For this CA, the Premier announced the Peru in a single window, practically a virtual one, where 9 state institutions are working. In order to simplify processes. At the moment, this commission is chaired by the Presidency of the Council of Ministers, and the second important actor is the Ministry of Energy and Mines. Just last week, we had a meeting to look at the progress of this one-stop shop. And I think this is good news for the sector, and especially for investors.
Very important, Vice Minister, but the news of this week, without a doubt, has been this enormous mobilization that has been promoted by Confemin, who claim to represent the informal and artisanal miners who claim to maintain in force the legislative decree or repeal legislative decree 1607 and rather maintain in force the integrated registry of mining formalization, the famous Reinfo. And the truth is that their demands, at least for those who seem to want formalization, they sound consistent. They speak of a whole bureaucratic tangle that has prevented them. And yet you have pointed out that out of 85,000, which is true, initially registered, only 20,000 have achieved formalization. There are specialists who say, why don't you encourage the formal specific sector, those that you can detect that want to formalize so that this does not become an explosive situation, socially speaking?
Yes, I think that let's say I've been in the sector practically since the 90s. During these years, many formalization programs have been carried out. In most of these formalization programs, artisanal miners have been given the right and preference. We have gone to the area to locate them. We have determined free squares so that they can apply for them. But there hasn't been much interest by these organizations in formalizing, right? But later, in the year 2001, a law was passed related to the formalization of mining, right? And in this law, the artisanal mining producer stratum was also recently considered. Before, there was no such stratum. From that point on, and then came a series of measures. For example, the agreements between the formal mining companies with the miners that were close to their facilities, close to their operations, already allowed to sign agreements between the companies. And many of these agreements had already been signed before the birth of this famous Reinfo and the Declaration of Commitment. In other words, there was already a formalization process. And in the year 2011, a national formalization plan was approved with the approval of the artisanal miners organizations, and this plan was going to be implemented. However, in 2012, 2013, the rules of the game are changed. The whole formalization process was set aside and a declaration of commitment was, and the declaration of commitment is created where without any technical support, only miners or any other natural or legal person have been allowed to. I am a miner, I want to formalize, and with that document, they fill out that document, fill out some referential coordinates or indicate within which concession they are. This document is what currently serves to say, hey, I am in the process of formalization, and this has also generated a disorder throughout the country because this document is being abused. And on the other hand, evaluating this document, we find that out of the 85,000 applications, there are only 20,000.
In other words,
they are in process.
It has not been that he's
no,
present.
because we are talking about 55,000 that simply filled out the forms. For example, I was in Madre de Dios on one occasion at a dialogue table where those who filled out these forms were not the miners themselves, but the motorcyclists, all those who offered the logistics.
In other words, there was a complete disorder.
There is a disorder, there has been.
Because it also has to do with,
There has been a complete disorder because anyone has been allowed to freely register. Yes. And the worst thing is that now this document is being misused because it is already being commercialized.
Of course, in order to have access to them.
And others who now want to enter this business, change their ownership or change their coordinates. It has become a mess. And I had a meeting yesterday with the National Federation of Artisanal Miners of Peru. I have explained this issue to them, and they participated in this supreme decree that was approved in 2011 in the National Formalization Plan. And they are also realistic that effectively these lists are unrealistic, aren't they? Because in practice, there cannot be more than 20,000 small-scale mining organizations, artisanal mining. If at the level of the entire formal range, we are at approximately 1,250, which are between the small, medium, large, there are 1,250. There cannot be 20,000 who are engaged in artisanal mining, right? So they know it. What we have discussed is to resume this formalization plan. On the other hand, this formalization plan was interesting because it was not only aimed at the miner who extracts the mineral, but mainly at the population surrounding the artisanal mining center, who often live in subhuman conditions.
After this explanation, what we understand then is you haven't, personally I also think, right? Reinfo has not been of any use and it is no longer going. And what you are telling us is that in the 2011, there was a well-articulated plan, let's say agreed, that could help formalization and that we should go back to follow the, let's say, the right path, because you are also telling us very, very alarming things, that it is used as a document to commercialize, which was what we were suspecting, which you are now confirming that really, for example, we have seen Peruvian dynamite in Ecuador, in everything that is happening, and it is easy because in truth, if they register in Reinfo and can buy dynamite, even the motorcyclists, any of those 20,000 who are from where are they, right? They can sell it on the black market, right? So it is really a major problem, isn't it, the Reinfo?
Of course, and apart from the fact that we have always gone to the subject of mining, of the extraction of mineral resources, right? Where normally there is no contamination issue, but there are unsafe measures for the workers involved in this activity. But we have forgotten something very important, which is the issue of profit. So what we see today is that there are a lot of informal mills, and we are seeing that have, let's say, are industrial centers with great infrastructure.
What do you call a beneficiation plant?
Processing plants, we are talking about, for example, you go to the south to Chala, or you go to the north to Piura. In the area of the border with Ecuador, you will find many types of factories, industrial zones, where there is a plant with its mills, its crusher. They are processing the rock, the mineral that the artisanal miner extracts. They take it to those artisanal mining centers, to those processing plants. But those beneficiation plants at the national level, we only have an average of 300 formal beneficiation plants. But there must be approximately 1,000 or 2,000 informal plants. And that is why at the moment we are seeing that much of the gold is going to other countries. To Bolivia, for example, it leaves through the border, or also the announcement that what is exported does not match what is produced, right? So we have to, at this stage, try to look at this problem of the beneficiation plants. It is more important right now even to dedicate ourselves to look at the issue of the processing plants, because that is often where the financing of these artisanal mining operations comes from. It is not necessarily, as is sometimes mentioned, from drug trafficking, but from the plants themselves, which have the money for the cash needed for the necessary cash flow, that commercialize the mineral and have the necessary cash as to organize brigades that go to mining centers. But the problem would not be it would be wrong, right? What is wrong is that they go to the operating mines, right? That to try to extract the ore or steal the ore, which is what we are currently seeing, right?
I want to finish, Vice Minister.
And it is a matter of delinquency, practically speaking.
Of course, there is an important issue with that, at least from my intervention as a final point on the behavior of copper and the expectations of exploitation for next year. Given that we have had a peak production of 2.7 million tons in 2023 at a relatively, at least attractive price, $3.884 per pound. However, for the projection made for 2024, this will not even help us to maintain the levels of tax collection that we have historically obtained from copper. If we do not encourage, as we have reiterated here, always projects such as Tia Maria, everything that is stopped in the copper production aspect. What do you tell us about this, says the minister, and what is going to happen in the year 2024 with copper?
Well, at the moment, in our investment portfolio of $53 billion, 70% is copper. And the important thing is that these projects are being developed at different stages. Not all of them reach the construction phase immediately. It is a long process that does not depend on the Ministry of Energy and Mines, but on the investor himself. The same investor plans these stages of the projects. And on the other hand, what we are seeing is that in this last stage of the year 2023, many operations have already expanded their volume, right? For example, we have already seen with Joy that production has already increased at Las Bambas. Production at Quellaveco has increased. We have for next year, again, other expansions. For example, we have Huancavite expansion, Antamina expansion, we have Tantahuatay, and all of them are copper. So I believe that next year we are going to exceed, or not this year, already 2024. Definitely we are going to exceed production. It is going to be a good year. But it is important that the government continues to develop at this time, especially at the level of the presidency of the Council of Ministers, try to promote an appropriate social climate in the areas where the mining operations are located.
Very well, Vice Minister. Thank you very much for coming to Rumbo Minero as one of the first means to be able to talk and know a little about the plans. Personally, I am very pleased that the issue of informality is being addressed with technical things and not with opinions or popular decisions, right? And I believe that the reorganization there is as we were saying, there is a cake of approximately $2,500 million a year, informal, that really, and taking into account that 50% of the gold exported by Bolivia is Peruvian, the Peruvian government cannot really miss out on this mineral that belongs to all Peruvians and stop paying taxes on it, right? So I am very happy that these things are being done because we really have to do something different to try to formalize. And I believe that people will want to formalize, right? This, because it also provides many benefits, right?
Exactly. I would just like to make a call, taking advantage of the channel, one, to the National Mining Society, to the Mining Engineering Institute, to the Peruvian Geological Society, which are associations that group geologists, miners, and investors, so that they send us all their proposals for improvement in the simplification that we want to achieve this year. Because we have to control three aspects. One, we have to improve the legislation. We have to interact with all the organizations. And third, we have to improve a common platform. And the other call is to the federations of artisanal miners so that we work together with the miners who really want to formalize and leave aside those 55,000 who have not shown any interest in formalizing in the last decade.
Agreed, very clear. Thank you very much, Vice Minister.
Thank you very much.
And we hope you can come from time to time to see how these plans are progressing, and hopefully for the good of Peru and also of the artisanal miners, we will be able to move forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Well, now, let's go to Gabriela Chicoma, who is going to tell us a little bit about what Expomina is going to be from September 11 to 14. Go ahead, Gabriela.
Thank you very much. Expomina Peru, the largest and most important mining meeting in Peru in 2024 with 16 years of experience, do business with the mining sector of Peru and America. Expomina Peru from September 11th to 13th, 2024 at the Jockey Lima Exhibition Center. portfolio of mining projects in Peru for more than $53 million, and portfolio of mining projects in America for $450 million. Invest with the leaders. Participate in Expo Mina Peru 2024. For more information, please visit our website www.expominaperu.com.
Well, in our America Mining block, we welcome live from Wall Street, New York, José Gonzáles. How are you, José?
Very well, Jorge. Glad to be always with you as every week.
As you know, international editor of Rumbo Minero magazine. Good. Jose, Berkeley Earth, the California-based institution focused on the analysis of global temperature data as a basis for climate science. It has just compiled data from all the planet's weather stations, concluding that in the year 2023, the average global temperature was more than 1.5 degrees Celsius above, obviously, the pre-industrial levels. What does such a record imply for the energy transition?
So, Jorge, Berkeley has just published that compilation, that of all the weather stations on the planet, concluding, as you pointed out, that the global temperature exceeded 1.5 degrees Celsius above the pre-industrial averages, confirming that 2023 has been the hottest year in the history of the planet and exceeding the levels established by the Paris Agreements of 2015. It should be clarified, however, that the goal of the Paris Agreement refers to a long-term average, at least 2 decades, and not a specific year. The Berkeley Earth data is referenced by Copernicus, the European Union's Earth Observation Agency, which has set the global temperature in 2023 at 1.48 degrees Celsius, above the pre-industrial average from 1850 to 1900. NASA and the U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration have published similar temperature increases, 1.37 degrees Celsius and 1.45 degrees Celsius, respectively, as well as the Global Meteorological Organization at 1.45 degrees Celsius. Regardless of the difference between the different agencies, 2023 was indeed, as we pointed out, the warmest year in the history of the Earth. Now, if global temperature were to remain at these levels, reducing it from that 1.5 degrees Celsius would require reducing emissions of 40 billion tons of carbon dioxide per year to zero by the year 2030. According to the New York Times, the goal of the Paris Accords was more moral than practical insofar as it was made on the basis of the danger that global warming did and does pose to island nations in the Pacific, which, as you know, are flooding. What it does demonstrate, however, the newspaper points out, is the limited speed with which decarbonization is being implemented and the imperative need to accelerate and perfect the process whose implementation it favors. Generally, and especially to critical minerals, and we re-emphasize the role of copper in the energy transition and lithium in electromobility.
Jose, this acquisition by Antofagasta PLC, the mining arm of the Luxic Group, a very powerful Chilean group in which 19% of the shares of Minas Buenaventura were acquired, continues to be talked about. As this has occurred through a transaction in Bolsa Stock Exchange, specifically the Lima Stock Exchange, it has been considered as a non-hostile transaction to the extent that there was no coordination with the other shareholders. What implication has this had for the stock market in terms of this specific transaction, Antofagasta's acquisition of this share package of Minas Buenaventura?
As you point out, Cesar, there are a number of questions about that. This acquisition of almost a fifth of the company, which is important, without any direct coordination with Buenaventura management, continues to raise questions. However, Ivan Arriagada, Antofagasta's CEO, has given a lengthy interview to Chile's La Tercera and has indicated that the acquisition is in line with the company's strategies to grow in copper and in the Americas. Arriagada points out in the newspaper that Buenaventura fits its strategy insofar as it is in transition from being a majority copper producer to copper, and among its assets stands out its 19% stake in Cerro Verde copper mining. That is, indirectly, the Luxic Group is now a shareholder of 20% in a way in Cerro Verde, which is the largest copper producer in Peru. On the other hand, he points out that the acquisition is good news for Buenaventura, as Antofagasta has shown interest in working in collaboration with the company to develop its potential. The Chilean press considers that the investment is unusual insofar as Luxic is the controller of the companies in which it participates, something that Arriagada, in relation to Buenaventura, neither denies nor affirms. He said that they are interested in taking control of Buenaventura, indicating that they are talking with Buenaventura to make adjustments that allow them to collaborate in seeking the best opportunities, and that this includes having representation on the board of directors. Antofagasta has more than 50,000 hectares of mining property in Peru and invests between It has invested between $1,400 and $2 billion a year in mining. And Chilean analysts expect it to have a record investment in the sector this year. In particular, it is investing in Nueva Centinela to increase by 144,000 tons of copper the 247,000 tons it currently produces, to which would be added the 275,000 tons produced by Los Pelambres, in whose expansion it is also working in order to produce 900,000 tons per year, which is an important amount if we consider that Codelco produces 1.3 million tons. Freeport, the world's largest copper producer, produces 1.5 million tons, and BHP Grupo Mexico 1.1 million respectively. The ambitions of the Luxic Group and its mining division are clear. Following the announcement of the acquisition of Antofagasta, Buenaventura's shares in the New York Stock Exchange went from $9.27 to $15.24, an increase of 64.4%.
Okay, Jose. Very interesting. Thank you very much, and see you next week.
So be it. Amen.
I would like to recommend to all our viewers, here you have the magazine Rumbo Minero, a magazine that comes out every 45 days where the topics mentioned by Jose Gonzáles, among others, are discussed. You can enter www.rumbominero.com and download the magazine totally free. You can see all the important articles we have in the magazine, Cesar.
Yes, Jorge, it is now time to present the mining asset segment AMSAC.
Activos Mineros AMSAC is a Peruvian public company with a great purpose: to give life back to the planet. Thus, we are dedicated to contribute to the sustainable development of the country through mining environmental remediation. At AMSAC, we recover areas affected by high and very high-risk mining liabilities, which are in a situation of abandonment, or where the state has not identified those responsible. In this line of work, today we are present in 11 regions of Peru, with a portfolio of 65 remediation projects, which are located in different phases. Promotion of private investment. In AMSAC, we represent the Peruvian state as counterpart of the transfer contracts of important mining projects. And we also supervise the fulfillment of the commitments and obligations that are part of such processes. Today we are leaders in business management systems. Among the 35 companies of the Fonafe Corporation, we have the following certifications: ISO 9001 in quality management, ISO 14001 in environmental management, ISO 37001 in anti-bribery management, and ISO 45001 in occupational health and safety management. At AMSAC, sustainability and care for the planet are our DNA, and we are proud to contribute to creating a better world through the recovery of air, water, soil, and ecosystems impacted by mining liabilities. In this way, we contribute to 10 of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals by the year 2030. Giving life back to the planet is more than a simple phrase for us. It is the guide of our daily actions, with which we have a positive impact on the lives of thousands of Peruvians, and through them, on our country.
Well, we now meet Anthony Laub. He is a specialist in energy law and energy regulation and project finance, and a founding partner of Laub y Quijandría. What are we going to talk about? Petroperu. What we have been talking about for several programs now, but Anthony is one of the people who knows the most about these issues, and that's why we invited him. Anthony, how are you?
Very well, thank you for the invitation.
Tell us about Peru, about Petroperu. Should it really continue? We should, right, the two sides there. Let's continue because it seems like a bottomless barrel, right? Let's continue, let's keep paying because otherwise it's going to go bankrupt. And on the other hand, some say it will go bankrupt. This has in, a new board is coming in, there's going to be a whole reform, but that doesn't really help. What's your opinion on the subject?
I believe that Petroperu is bankrupt. That is, technically it is bankrupt. It is a company that does not have any assets. It does not have a clear vision of the future. It does not know what to do. It does not know how to do it. And obviously when you don't know what to do, you call your dad, don't you? Dad, help me. I don't know what to do. Well, exactly the same thing that has been happening in the last few years with Petroperu. Hey, Dad, help me with the money I owe. Dad, help me because I have no way to invest. Dad, help me because I don't know what to do. So if the company itself does not know what to do and the father does not know what to do either, the question is, what do we do with this? Do we continue to bleed the company dry? Do we continue to give it public resources so that it can survive? I think not. I mean, the reality is that when one has, well, a bleeding of such a nature, one has to stop it from the front, not to give it, not to turn it around, right? So I am of the opinion that what has to happen here is that between a third party to come in, clean up the company and then sell the company. But first it has to be cleaned up. And a little bit of what I was proposing was that we concession the entire administration of Petroperu, not sell it. Because today it is not worth anything. Today it is worth negative value. Let a third party come in and clean it up to correct what needs to be corrected, to effectively establish a viable company, something that Jaime Quijandría did at the time. When Jaime Quijandría was appointed chairman of the board of directors of Petroperu, back in the year 92 or 93, if my memory serves me correctly, his order was to clean up the company, put it in blue because we are going to sell it. And the process was truncated, and Jaime withdraws because he is obviously frustrated by his work not finished and not executed by the government. It's the same thing we should do today, to put it in blue, and once that is done, go out and sell it.
The issue also, Anthony, is in the example you have given, even in the metaphor of the father who gives the money, the internal resistance of a whole labor body that exists within Petroperu, and that apparently, not even in a government with authoritarian signs such as Alberto Fujimori's, could we impose a different condition such as the one that Jaime Quijandría wanted? That is the issue. Now, the father helps in two ways. Either he gives you the money, which is what has been asked for, or he gives you a guarantee. Hey, you get your credit, but I will guarantee you, I will give you the guarantees. None of these formulas convince you, which is what the director, the president of Petroperu's board of directors has announced.
No, because it means to continue using public funds and committing present and future public funds for an operation that we know is clearly not working and that is not going to work, and it is not going to work because it does not have the proper management. Let us speak simply. There is no management, there is no head that knows where Petroperu should go. That is to say, they live from hand to hand. They were not given initial support last year. You will remember. What do? Let us assign the oil lots, of the lots in the northwest of Peru, so that they have cash, so that they can operate other lots, and with that they supposedly have cash. Well, we assigned them to them. Have they made cash? No, they have not made cash. They have made a loss. So what is going to happen? We are not going to allocate these 1,150 million of fresh capital, but we are going to capitalize the debt. We are going to increase the guarantee lines, and we are going to give them probably the most relevant lot in the Northwest, which is lot 10, thinking that with this they will obtain from the oil income, which is the exploitation of oil, enough cash flow so that they can resuscitate this company, which is in a state of catatonic or comatose. And the reality is that the cash flows are not enough. Neither lot 10 nor lot 7, nor lot 8, nor lot 6, the lot you want, you name it, it is not going to give because this company does not know how to manage. That is the problem. And so I emphasize a very interesting issue. There is an internal resistance. That is why I tell you, if we put in a new management with the power to restructure this company, that internal resistance will have to leave or align itself.
Because there, Anthony, you are mentioning the same thing that Cesar is mentioning. Well, the issue of management, and the number of people. And I would like to remember that in several governments, they have been hiring more than what was needed, and they have been fattening that company, and the people have not left. We are talking about salaries that are not so low either, right? And with all due respect to the engineers who have many years there and who earn well, we have also learned that at the end of the year, they distribute profits without taking into account the debt they have with the country, which is, personally, I think it's disrespectful, don't you?
That's right. You call it disrespect, I call it theft. Okay. So here in Peru, we always speak softly, don't we, on the side, don't we? But touching on that line of thought, there is a scab in Petroperu that tirelessly and incessantly sucks funds from this company. And you are not going to tell me that there is no corruption in Petroperu. We have seen it. Cases of corruption have been uncovered and they are quickly silenced. Why? Because this is a company that invoices billions of dollars. So when one invoices billions of dollars, there are many interests for this company to effectively continue invoicing those billions, no matter if it loses on the side, because there is a lot of business in the middle.
And the main business is also to share profits without considering debts. In other words, it is a great business.
To share profits, to rig fuel purchases, to manage the public tenders that they have to have. That is to say, when you have a monster that builds billions of dollars, you have billions of reasons to want to control that monster, because that is where many people eat, and that is the reality. What surprises me today is that not even the Congress, neither the Congress nor the Comptroller's office have gone to carry out control actions. I am really amazed by that. Of course, we have two little congregations that go to Mexico to see the mummies. And whether
Zombies.
The Paracas mummies are extraterrestrial or not, hey, go to Congress, go to Petroperu, and do a survey, do an audit. But the public prosecutor's office would have to go, the comptroller's office would have to go. I am talking about the comptroller's office, and I am talking about the Congress, which are two supervising entities that have enough capacity to enter that company and request all the information. We have never been given an account of the Talara refinery because it has cost 46 billion.
And they have withdrawn from the National Society of Mining, Petroleum and Energy
because it requires transparency.
They demand transparency, and they have declared that they think that they cannot be in a place. Those from Petroperu have declared that they cannot be in a place where they are being called in this way, but they are not delivering the complete report, not even the complete report, and they say that it is for strategy. Which one is?
What strategy can a company that is broke have?
Well, their last letter is the total production put into operation at the refinery at 100% total, that they are going to put it at competitive prices. It says the fuel that they are going to produce.
But then again, a refinery that is designed to produce up to 95,000 barrels per day. How much oil does Peru produce? Less than 40,000. In other words, if this refinery were to cover its full capacity, it would have a deficit of 55,000 barrels, assuming that those 40,000 barrels all go to Petroperu. So it means that I still have to import crude oil. So as always, where is the profit that Petroperu is supposedly going to make? It does not exist. That is the reality. On the other hand, Petroperu has lost market share. It used to control, and before, when I say before, I mean 4 or 5 years ago, 50% of the liquid fuels market in Peru. Today, it controls 27%.
27%, yes.
So you are losing market. I lose market. I have a high investment, which produces almost 40%. How am I going to refloat that?
Of course, very clear.
In other words, where is the margin? I would have to sell more product to be able to recover my market, and on the other hand, to use all the installed capacity. Neither one nor the other.
Very clear. Thank you very much, Anthony, for helping us to understand this issue that we are calling several specialists. But today, I think it is very clear to us which way Petroperu is going. Thank you very much for being on Rumbo Minero.
My pleasure. Thank you. Well, now I would like to give Gabriela Chicoma the opportunity to tell us a little bit about the Great Expo Mina Fair. Go ahead, Gabriela.
Thank you very much. Expo Mina Peru, the largest and most important mining event of the year 2024. With 16 years of trajectory, with the special participation of the United States as the guest mining country. Expo Mina Peru is the only Peruvian event certified by the United States Department of Commerce. Do not be left out and be part of this great mining event. Reserve your stand at Expo Mina Peru. For more information, visit our website, www.expominaperu.com.
Well, coming to the end of the program, Cesar, what Henry Luna tells us seems to me to be the right way to go. What decisions have to be made technically, and if in 2011 there was already a plan that could be carried out for the Reinfo, but for formalization, this one, and it was good to go back to that, and the Reinfo is going to have, it has already had many years in what is not working.
The thing is, there is a decision already taken, and there is no way, they will go back. And Anthony Laub has told us interesting things about Petroperu with figures and realities. Besides that, the truth is that it makes us regret very much the viability of the company, no matter how much pressure we have put on the directors here, so that they can make a statement. I believe that the explanation given by the president of Petroperu was very, very weak.
And at the end, he gave me one more piece of information, Anthony, off camera, which is 50% of what was received, collected by the government in the last few years. 50% goes to Petroperu. Proceeds from the mining sector, that is Tias Marias. This, we are trying to get this to move forward with projects, and in the end, everything goes through Petroperu's pipeline. Unbelievable. Well, thank you very much for being with us. My name is Jorge Leon Benavides. Together with Cesar Campos, we have developed the following, the present program, and now do not forget, Peru builds in what is construction and infrastructure in a few minutes. Thank you very much.
With 16 years of successful trajectory, Expo Mina Peru, the largest and most important mining event of the 2024, will open its doors from September 11th to 13th, which will be chaired by Luis Rivera, Executive Vice President of Goldfields Americas Region. For 3 days, Expo Mina Peru will bring together the main mining suppliers in a 47,000 square meter venue with more than 1,270 stands and the participation of international delegations with the latest technology in machinery, equipment, products, supplies and services with purchase intentions of more than $700 million, which will be on display for the more than thousands of visitors expected to attend. Within the framework of Expo Mina Peru, the 6th edition of the International Mining Conference, CONFEMIN, will be held with 10 important international forums: the Latin American Congress on Logistics and Supply for the Mining Sector, the International Copper and Lithium Congress, and the Technical Congresses Mantemin and Processmin. In addition, as part of the novelties that Expo Mina Peru brings, the first International Congress on Green Hydrogen and Alternative Energies will be held, where important and renowned professionals will present the opportunities and challenges of the new energy matrix. Reserve your stand and participate in the most important mining fair of the year 2024, Expo Mina Peru. Do not hesitate. Invest well. Invest with the leaders. We are waiting for you from September 11th to 13th, 2024 at the Jockey Exhibition Center. More information at www.expominaperu.com.